The mining ship Bright Dawn drifted through the empty space of the Varith expanse. It was an old ship with scratched walls and engines that made strange sounds. But it worked, and that was enough for Captain Yoon Hana and her crew of 12. Hana stood on the bridge and watched the stars through the main window. She had been a deep space miner for 15 years. She knew these forgotten regions better than most. The Varith expanse was unclaimed territory, far from the protection of the Galactic Assembly. It was dangerous, but danger meant opportunity. The best minerals were always found in places where others were too afraid to go. "Captain, I am getting something strange on the sensors," said Kim Soo-bin from her station. She was the youngest member of the crew, only 23 years old. This was her first deep space mission. Her eyes were wide as she looked at her screen. Hana walked over to her. "What kind of strange?" "Energy readings. Big ones. About 2 hours away from our position." Soo-bin pointed at the display. "It could be a mineral deposit. A really big one." Park Dong-woo looked up from his engineering console. He was a large man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had kept the Bright Dawn running for 8 years through skill and stubbornness. "Or it could be something else," he said quietly. "We are far from assembly space. Anything could be out here." Hana considered this. Dong-woo was right to be careful. But they had come here to find valuable resources. If they turned away from every unknown signal, they would return home with empty cargo holds and empty pockets. "We will take a look," Hana decided. "But we go in slow and careful. Soo-bin, keep watching those readings. Dong-woo, make sure the engines are ready for a fast escape if we need one." The Bright Dawn changed course and moved toward the energy source. The crew worked quietly at their stations. Hana could feel the tension in the air. Everyone knew the risks of working in unclaimed space. 2 hours later, they found the source of the energy readings. It was not a mineral deposit. "Ships," Soo-bin whispered. "Lots of ships." Hana stared at the screen. 30 warships hung in the darkness ahead. They were arranged in a defensive formation around something that looked like a space station. The ships were long and sharp, covered in dark metal plates. She recognized the design immediately. Her blood turned cold. "Kriviks," she said. The bridge went silent. Everyone knew about the Kriviks. They were slavers who operated outside assembly law. They captured people from unprotected regions and sold them to the highest bidder. 60 years ago, before Hana was born, the Kriviks had nearly destroyed humanity. They had attacked Earth's first colony ships and killed thousands. Only the intervention of the Deathworlders coalition had saved the human race. "Turn us around," Hana ordered. Now, Dong-woo's hands moved fast across his console. The Bright Dawn began to turn. But they were too slow. "They've seen us," Soo-bin said. Her voice was shaking. "Multiple ships are moving toward us. They are fast. Very fast." Hana watched 5 Krivex warships break from the main fleet and race toward them. The mining ship had no weapons. Their shields were designed to protect against space debris, not military attacks. They could not fight. They could only run. "Dong-woo, I need everything the engines can give," Hana said. "I am trying, Captain. But this ship is not built for speed." The Krivex ships closed the distance quickly. Warning lights flashed across. The bridge's targeting systems locked onto the Bright Dawn. Then the first shot hit them. The ship shook hard. Hana grabbed her chair to stay standing. Emergency alarms screamed. Sparks flew from damaged systems. "Engines are hit," Dong-woo reported. His face was pale. "We cannot run anymore." Hana closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about her crew. 12 people who trusted her to keep them safe. Now they were trapped in empty space with no way to escape. "Captain," Soo-bin said. "What do we do?" Hana opened her eyes. She was scared, but she would not show it. Her crew needed her to be strong. Subin, send a distress signal. All frequencies. Tell anyone who can hear us what is happening. Subin nodded and turned to her console. Her fingers moved quickly as she prepared the message. Dongwu stepped closer to Hana. He spoke quietly so only she could hear. There is one more option. The Deathworlder Coalition Emergency Channel. Hana looked at him. The Deathworlder Coalition was an alliance of species from dangerous worlds. High-gravity planets. Extreme environments. Deadly conditions. Humans were the newest members, accepted 60 years ago after the Krivex War. The Coalition had a private channel for emergencies. Using it would bring attention that none of them could predict. If we use that channel, the whole galaxy will know humans called for help, Hana said. If we do not use it, the Krivex will take us, Dongwu replied. And no one will ever know what happened to us. Hana made her decision. Subin, send the distress signal on all frequencies. Include the Deathworlder Coalition Emergency Channel. Subin hesitated. Are you sure, Captain? I am sure. Send it. Subin entered the codes and prepared the message. She included their location, their situation, and one important word that would change everything. Human. The message launched into space at the speed of light. It spread across the void in all directions, reaching distant stations and ships across multiple star systems. On the main screen, Hana watched the Krivex ships surround the bright dawn. They were not firing anymore. They wanted prisoners, not corpses. Prisoners had value. They are cutting through the hull, Dongwu said. Multiple breach points. Hana could hear the sound of metal being torn apart. The Krivex were coming. She looked around the bridge at her crew. They were scared, but none of them were panicking. She felt proud of them. Everyone stay calm, she said. Help is coming. She did not know if that was true. The nearest assembly station was days away. The Krivex would have them long before any rescue could arrive. But she had to give her crew something to hold on to. The main door of the bridge exploded inward. Smoke and debris filled the air. Hana saw shapes moving through the opening. The Krivex were tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. Their faces had no expression. Black eyes stared at the humans like they were looking at livestock. The lead Krivex pointed a weapon at Hana. You will come with us, it said in broken human standard. No resistance. Or you die. Hana stood between the Krivex and her crew. She was not armed. She had no way to fight. But she would not step aside. My crew stays behind me, she said. Whatever you want, you deal with me first. The Krivex made a sound that might have been laughter. Brave. Foolish, but brave. It gestured to its soldiers. Take them all. As the Krivex moved forward, Hana hoped that somewhere in the darkness of space, someone had heard their call for help. The Deathworlder Coalition Command Station Iron Tide floated in the darkness between stars. It was a massive structure, built from the combined efforts of 12 different species. Each section showed different designs and materials. Some parts were smooth and curved. Others were rough and angular. Together, they formed a fortress that could hold 30,000 soldiers and 100 warships. Fleet. Admiral Brath stood in the main command center. He was a Torvan, a species from a world with gravity 3 times stronger than Earth. His body was built for that crushing pressure. He stood 8 feet tall, with thick scales covering his entire form. His arms were as wide as tree trunks. His teeth were sharp enough to cut through metal. To most species in the galaxy, he looked like a monster. To the Deathworlder Coalition, he was a hero. Around him, officers from many different species worked at their stations. Valkyrie with their insect-like bodies and compound eyes. Drath with their stone-gray skin and 4 legs. humans with their strange soft flesh and stubborn spirits. The coalition was not united by politics or trade. They were united by survival. Every species here came from a world that tried to kill them. They had learned to be strong or die. "Admiral, we have an emergency transmission," said a Volcari officer. Her name was Nexali, and she served as the station's communications commander. Her voice buzzed slightly, a side effect of how her species spoke. "Priority signal on the Coalition emergency channel." Brath turned toward her. The emergency channel was rarely used. Species only called that number when they were in serious danger. Source? The Varth Expanse. Unclaimed territory. Nexali paused. Her compound eyes seemed to grow wider. "Admiral, the signal contains a species identifier. It is human." The entire command center went quiet. Every officer stopped working and looked up. Brath felt something stir inside him. Something old and fierce. "Put it on the main screen," he ordered. The transmission appeared in glowing letters. It was simple and direct. A ship called the Bright Dawn had encountered a Krivix fleet. Engines disabled. Boarding in progress. Location coordinates included. And at the end, one word that made Brad's blood burn. Human. Li Jihuan stepped forward from his station. He was the human liaison officer assigned to Iron Tide. His job was to help the Coalition understand human culture and needs. He was a former soldier who had served in Earth's defense forces before joining the diplomatic corps. Now he stood among giants and monsters, representing his entire species. "Admiral," Jiwan said carefully, "that signal is from a mining vessel. 12 crew members. They were searching for resources in unclaimed space. And now the Krivix have them," Brath said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "The Krivix." Nexali made a clicking sound with her mandibles. It was the Valkyrie expression of disgust. "Slavers, cowards. They only attack those who cannot fight back." Brath remembered what the Krivix had done 60 years ago. He had been young then, just a junior officer on his first assignment. The Torvan fleet had responded to human distress calls during the First War. They had arrived to find human ships burning in space, their crews captured or killed. The few survivors had fought until they had nothing left. Some had even crashed their damaged ships into Krivix vessels rather than surrender. That day, Brath had seen something in humans that he recognized. They were small and weak compared to Tarvan. Their world was gentle by Coalition standards. But their spirits were made of iron. They refused to give up even when they had no hope. That was the mark of a true Deathworlder. "Contact the Third Fleet," Brath ordered. "All ships are to begin emergency preparations. We jump in 1 hour." An officer looked up with surprise. "The entire fleet, Admiral? For one mining ship?" Brath turned to face the officer. His eyes were cold and hard. "The humans called for help. They used the Coalition channel. That means they trust us to answer. Do you think we should ignore them?" The officer quickly looked away. "No, Admiral. I will contact the fleet immediately." Jihuan watched the command center burst into activity. Officers sent orders to ships across the system. Engines powered up. Weapon systems came online. He had expected a response, maybe a few ships to investigate. He had not expected this. "Admiral," Jiwan said, "may I ask why you are sending the entire Third Fleet? The Krivix have maybe 30 ships. A smaller force could handle them." Brath looked down at the human. Despite their size difference, there was no contempt in his gaze. Only respect. Because this is not about one ship or one battle. This is about a message. A message? 60 years ago, your people almost died. The Krivix thought humans were easy prey. Weak bodies. Young civilization. No powerful allies. They were wrong. Brath's massive hand formed a fist. The coalition saved humanity because we saw your true strength. Not in your muscles or weapons. In your hearts. You earned your place among us. Ji-Huan felt something tighten in his chest. He had grown up hearing stories about the First War. His grandmother had been a survivor from one of the attacked colony ships. She had never forgotten the terror of those days, or the relief when the Deathworlders arrived. The Krivix have short memories, Brath continued. They think because 60 years have passed, we have forgotten. They think they can hunt humans again without consequences. Today, we remind them. Next, Sally approached them. Her drones, small insect-like creatures connected to her hive mind, buzzed around her head. Admiral, the Third Fleet reports ready. 37 warships from 12 species. Additional vessels from the 4th and 7th Fleets have requested permission to join. Granted, Brath said. Any ship that wants to come is welcome. That will bring our total to over 100 vessels. Nexoli noted. Good. I want the Krivix to see exactly what they have started. Ji-Wan shook his head in amazement. 100 warships for a 12-person mining crew. The galaxy had never seen such a response for such a small incident. But he understood now. This was not about the Bright Dawn. This was about every human everywhere. This was the coalition saying that humans were family, and family protected its own. I am going with the fleet, Ji-Wan said suddenly. Brath looked at him with something like approval. I expected nothing less. Humans always want to help their own. Do you think we will reach them in time? Brath did not answer for a moment. He looked at the star map showing the Varth expanse. The Krivix fleet was highlighted in red. The human ship was a tiny blue dot surrounded by enemies. The Krivix will not kill them immediately, he said finally. Living prisoners have value. Dead ones do not. We have time, but we must move fast. The Admiral turned to address the entire command center. His voice filled the room like thunder. Today, the Krivix made a mistake. They touched one of ours. They thought no one would notice. They thought no one would care. They were wrong. We are Deathworlders. We were born on worlds that tried to kill us. We survived because we never give up and we never abandon our own. Today, we teach the Krivix what that means. Today, we bring our people home. The command center erupted in sounds of approval. Roars and clicks and shouts from a dozen different species. Ji-Wan felt the sound wash over him. He was one human among thousands of aliens. But in that moment, he had never felt less alone. The Third Fleet began its jump. 100 ships disappeared into the darkness of space, racing toward a battle that would change everything far away. In the Varth expanse, the Krivix fleet commander received an unexpected transmission. His sensors showed new contacts entering the system. Many new contacts. His four hands began to shake. The Deathworlders were coming. Supreme Collective Roth stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Endless Hunger. He was the leader of this Krivix fleet, a position he had earned through cruelty and cunning. His gray skin was marked with scars from past battles. His forearms were decorated with rings made from the bones of his enemies. He considered himself the most dangerous being in unclaimed space. Now he watched his prisoners through a security feed. The humans from the mining ship had been moved to a cargo hold. They sat on the cold floor with their hands bound. Some were injured. All were afraid. Wrath smiled. Fear was good. Fearful slaves were easier to control. The human female continues to cause problems, said his second in command. She refuses to stay quiet. She keeps talking to the others, keeping them calm. Wrath looked at the screen. The human captain, a woman with short black hair, was speaking softly to her crew. Despite her situation, Her eyes were not broken. She still had fire in them. That annoyed him. She will learn, Wrath said. They all learn eventually. Break her legs if she causes more trouble. Damaged goods still sell. His second bowed and left to deliver the order. Wrath returned to studying star maps. This region of space was perfect for his operations. No assembly patrols. No military presence. Just empty systems full of helpless travelers waiting to be collected. The humans had been a lucky find. Human slaves were valuable. Many species in the darker parts of the galaxy wanted them for various purposes. Wrath would make a good profit from this catch. A communication officer approached him nervously. Supreme Collector, we are receiving a transmission. Multiple contacts have entered the system. Wrath did not look up from his maps. Identify them. They are. The officer paused. His gray skin turned pale. They are Deathworlder coalition vessels. Many of them. Over 100 ships. Wrath's head snapped up. What? He rushed to the main display. The sensor data filled the screen. 112 warships had appeared at the edge of the system. They were arranged in attack formation. Torvan dreadnoughts. Volkari carrier ships. Drath assault cruisers. And more species he could barely identify. The largest fleet he had ever seen was now pointing their weapons at him. Impossible, Wrath whispered. The Coalition does not operate in unclaimed space. They have no jurisdiction here. They are hailing us, Supreme Collector. Wrath composed himself. He was still in control. He had hostages. The Coalition might be powerful, but they would not risk human lives. That was their weakness. They cared too much. Put them through, he ordered. The main screen changed to show a face that made Wrath's blood run cold. A Tarvan. Massive and ancient with scars covering his scales. His eyes burned with barely controlled rage. I am Fleet Admiral Brath of the Deathworlder Coalition 3rd Fleet, the Torvan said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. You have captured citizens of a Coalition member species. You will release them immediately and leave this system. You have 1 hour to comply. Wrath forced himself to laugh. It came out high and nervous. Admiral, I think you misunderstand the situation. I hold 12 human prisoners. If you attack, they die. Simple as that. Brad's expression did not change. You think hostages protect you? I know they do. The Coalition is famous for protecting its members. You will not risk their lives. You are correct. We do protect our own. That is why we are here. Brath leaned forward. But you have made a mistake, Krivex. You think because we protect, we will not act. You think our love makes us weak. Let me explain something to you. The Admiral's voice dropped lower. More dangerous. 60 years ago, your kind attacked humanity when they were young and alone. You killed thousands. You would have killed them all. We stopped you then. We thought you had learned. Apparently, you need another lesson. Wrath felt sweat forming on his skin, but he held his ground. 1 hour is not enough time. I need to prepare my ships. I need to transfer prisoners. Give me 6 hours. 1 hour, Wrath repeated. Not 1 minute more. The transmission ended. Wrath stood frozen for a moment. Then he began shouting orders. All ships to defensive positions. Prepare for battle. And move those human prisoners to my ship. I want them close where I can use them as shields. His crew scrambled to obey. In the cargo hold of the Bright Dawn, Captain Yoon Hana heard distant sounds of movement. The guards around them seemed nervous. Something was happening. Choi Yoonji, the ship's medical officer, crawled closer to her. Yoonji had a cut on her forehead and bruises on her arms, but she was still working. She had been treating the wounded crew members with scraps of cloth and her own knowledge. "Captain," Yoonji whispered, "the guards are scared. I heard them talking. Someone is here. Someone powerful." Hana's heart jumped. The distress signal. Someone heard it. Park Dong-woo moved closer as well. He kept his eyes on the guards. "Captain, I have been studying this cargo hold. The emergency door release is connected to a maintenance panel near the back. If I can reach it, I might be able to open the outer doors." "That would kill us all," Hana pointed out. "Not if we have warning. There are emergency suits in the storage lockers. Old ones meant for the original crew. If we can reach them before the doors open." Dongwoo left the sentence unfinished. Hana understood. It was a desperate plan. Dangerous, possibly fatal. But it was better than being sold as slaves. "Do it," she said. "But wait for my signal. We need the right moment." Dongwoo nodded and began slowly moving toward the back of the hold. Pretending to be looking for a more comfortable place to sit, Kim Soo-bin appeared at Hana's side. The young communications officer was pale and shaking, but her eyes were determined. "Captain, what should I do?" "Stay close to the emergency suits," Hana said. "When things start happening, help the others get into them." "Can you do that?" Soo-bin swallowed hard but nodded. "Yes, Captain." Hana looked around at her crew. 12 people who had followed her into danger. They were miners, not soldiers. They had never been trained for combat or capture. But none of them had broken. None of them had given up. She felt proud of them. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. Outside, the standoff continued. The coalition fleet spread out, surrounding the Krivex from every angle. Small ships began launching from the larger vessels. Assault pods. Boarding parties. The coalition was not waiting for the hour to end. On the Iron Tide's command ship, Lee Ji-hwan watched the tactical display with admirable breath. "He will not release them," Ji-hwan said. "Brath thinks the hostages are his only protection." "He is wrong," Brath replied. "They are the reason he will not survive this day." "What do you mean?" Brath turned to face the human. "If he had captured anyone else, we might have negotiated. We might have let him go with a warning. But he took humans. Do you know what humans mean to us, Ji-hwan?" Ji-hwan shook his head. 60 years ago, we saved your species because we saw something special in you. You were small and weak, but you fought anyway. You refused to surrender even when it was hopeless. That is the heart of a Deathworlder." Brath placed a massive hand on Ji-hwan's shoulder. "You are not just allies. You are family. And no one touches our family." The assault pods moved silently through space, hidden by the larger ship's sensor interference. Inside them, coalition marines prepared for battle. Torvan heavy troops checked their weapons. Valkyrie drones coordinated attack patterns. And 12 human special forces operators, the only humans in the coalition military, waited with quiet determination. The rescue was about to begin. 1 week had passed since the rescue. The crew of the Bright Dawn recovered on the coalition command station Iron Tide. They were given private quarters, medical care, and anything else they needed. They were treated like honored guests rather than rescued miners. Captain Yoon Hana sat in the observation deck, watching ships come and go through the massive windows. Coalition vessels of every size and design moved past the station. Some were heading out on patrol. Others were returning from missions across the galaxy. The traffic never stopped. The coalition was always moving, always watching, always ready. She heard footsteps behind her and turned. Her entire crew was there. Park Dong-woo, Kim Soo-bin, Choi Yoon-ji, and all the others. They looked healthier now. The wounds were healing. The fear was fading. But they all shared the same confused expression. "Captain," Dong-woo said, "something strange is happening." Hana stood up. "What do you mean?" "Aliens keep visiting us," Soo-bin explained. Different species. They bring gifts and say things we do not understand. They look at us like we are special, like we did something important. Choi Yoonji nodded. A Valkyrie ambassador came to my medical bay this morning. She told me that what we did showed true Deathworlder spirit. I do not know what that means. We just tried to survive. Hana thought about this. The same things had been happening to her. Officers she had never met stopped to salute her in corridors. Soldiers from alien species she could not name offered her words of respect. Everyone seemed to know who she was. I think I know someone who can explain, Hana said. She led her crew through the station to the human liaison office. Li Ji-wan was there, working at his desk. He looked up when they entered and smiled. Captain Yoon, I was wondering when you would come to see me. Officer Lee, my crew has questions. We all have questions. Can you help us understand what is happening? Ji-wan gestured for them to sit. The office was small but comfortable. Human furniture mixed with alien designs. Ji-wan had made it feel like home. What would you like to know? He asked. Why are we being treated this way? Hana asked. We are just minors. We did not do anything heroic. We got captured and had to be rescued. That is not a story of bravery. That is a story of failure. Ji-wan shook his head. That is not how the coalition sees it. Then how do they see it? Ji-wan leaned back in his chair. He looked tired but happy. 60 years ago, when humanity first met the galaxy, we were alone. Young, weak by coalition standards. Our ships were slow. Our weapons were primitive. We did not know anything about alien civilizations. We did not even know they existed. The crew listened in silence. They had all heard some version of this history in school, but it felt different hearing it here, surrounded by the very aliens who had saved their species. The Krivex attacked our first colony ships, Ji-wan continued. They thought we would be easy prey. They were almost right. Thousands of humans died in those early attacks. We had no way to fight back. No allies, no hope. He paused. But we fought anyway. Every ship that was attacked fought until it could not fight anymore. Some captains crashed their damaged vessels into Krivex ships rather than surrender. Others hid in cargo holds and ambushed boarders with whatever they could find. We had nothing, but we gave everything. Hana felt something stir in her chest. She thought about standing between the Krivex and her crew. She thought about refusing to move even when she had no weapons. She thought about Dongwu working on that door panel while guards stood meters away. The Deathworlder coalition saw those battles, Ji-wan said. They saw humans die rather than give up. They saw courage that matched their own. That is when they decided to help us. Not because we were strong, because we had the spirit of Deathworlders. Su-bin spoke up. But we did not do any of that. We got captured. We sent a distress call. That is all. Ji-wan smiled at the young woman. You sent a distress call on the coalition channel. Do you know what that means? Su-bin shook her head. It means you trusted us. You believed that if you called, we would answer. After 60 years, humans still have faith in the coalition. That faith means everything to our allies. Ji-wan looked at each crew member. And when the Krivex came for you, what did your captain do? The crew looked at Hana. She felt her face grow warm. She stood between us and the enemy, Dongwu said. She refused to step aside. She kept talking to us the whole time we were captured, Eunji added. She kept us calm. She kept us together. And when the rescue came, what did Engineer Park do? Ji-wan asked. The crew turned to Dongwu now. He opened the cargo doors to give us a chance to escape, Su-bin said. Even though it could have killed us all. Ji-wan nodded. You faced impossible odds. You had no weapons, no training, No reason to hope. But you never gave up. You fought with everything you had. That is what the Coalition sees when they look at you. Anna felt tears forming again. This time, she did not blink them away. We were just trying to survive. That is what Deathworlders do, Ji-Hwan said softly. We survive. No matter the cost. No matter the odds. That is what makes us family. The door opened behind them. Admiral Brath entered the small office. The massive Torvan had to bend down to fit through the door. He looked at the human crew with eyes that held something like warmth. I hope I am not interrupting, he said. Dahana stood quickly. Admiral. No, of course not. Brath moved to stand by the window. He looked out at the stars. I have news. The Galactic Assembly has reviewed the recordings from your rescue. They have passed a new resolution. Any attack on Deathworld Coalition members will now be treated as an attack on all members. Every species in the Assembly has agreed. Ji-Hwan's eyes went wide. Every species? Even the neutral powers? Even them? It seems the sight of our fleet defending a human mining ship made an impression. Brath turned to face Hana. Your story has spread across the galaxy, Captain. Everyone knows what happened. Everyone knows that the Coalition came for you. Will that change anything? Hana asked. It will change everything. For 60 years, some have wondered if the Coalition's protection of humanity was real. If we would truly fight for you. Now they know. The Krivix attacked one human ship and lost their entire fleet. No one will question our commitment again. Hana thought about this. Her small crew. Her damaged ship. A distress call sent into darkness. And somehow, all of that had changed the course of galactic politics. We did not mean to cause all this, she said. Brath made the grinding sound that passed for laughter among Torvan. That is what I like about humans. You never understand how important you are. The Admiral moved toward the door, then stopped. He looked back at Hana with an expression she could not read. Captain, may I ask you a question? Of course, Admiral. One day, years from now, when the Torvan call for help, what will humans do? Hana did not hesitate. The answer came from somewhere deep inside her. A place she had not known existed until now. We will come, she said. Every ship we have. Every soldier. Every miner with a tool that can serve as a weapon. We will come. Brath smiled. It was a terrifying expression on a face built for war. But somehow, it was also beautiful. I know, he said. That is why we came for you. The Admiral left. The crew of the Bright Dawn sat in silence for a long moment. Outside the window, Coalition ships continued their endless patrol. Humans and aliens working together, protecting each other. Family not by blood, but by choice. By courage. By the simple promise that when one of them called, the others would answer. Hana looked at her crew. Ready to go home? They nodded. But Hana knew something had changed. Home was not just Earth anymore. It was not just human space. Home was wherever the Coalition stood guard. Wherever Deathworlders protected their own. Home was among the stars. The assault pods attached to the hull of the Bright Dawn without a sound. In the silence of space, metal touched metal. Magnetic locks engaged. Cutting tools began their work. Inside the pods, Coalition Marines prepared for combat. Each team was mixed, combining the strengths of different species. Torvan soldiers led the way because nothing could stop them once they started moving. Velkari drones provided coordination, their hive minds sharing information instantly across all teams. Droth warriors covered the flanks with their natural armor and powerful limbs, and among them were the humans. 12 Special Forces operators from Earth, the only humans who had earned places in the Coalition military. They were smaller than their allies. weaker in pure strength. But they brought something else to the fight: creativity, adaptability, the ability to find solutions that no one else could see. Sergeant Taeyang checked his weapon one final time. He was the leader of the human squad, 32 years old, with 10 years of military experience. He had joined the coalition forces to prove that humans could fight alongside the best warriors in the galaxy. "Remember," he said to his team, "our people are in there. We get them out alive. Nothing else matters." The cutting tools finished their work. Sections of hull fell inward. The Marines poured through the openings like water through broken dams. Krivek's guards turned at the sound of breaching. They raised their weapons. They never got a chance to use them. The first to van through the breach was a massive warrior named Krath. He hit the guards like a landslide. His armored fist crushed one Krivek against the wall. His other hand grabbed a second guard and threw him into a third. In seconds, the corridor was clear. "Move forward," Commander Nexali ordered through the communication network. Her voice echoed in every Marine's ear. Her drones gave her eyes everywhere at once. "The humans are in the main cargo hold, 3 levels down." The teams advanced through the ship. They moved fast and deadly, clearing each section before moving to the next. The Kriveks tried to organize resistance, but they were too slow. The coalition had been fighting together for centuries. They knew exactly how to work as one force. Taeyang and his humans followed the Torvan, watching the flanks and checking corners. They encountered a group of Kriveks trying to set up a barricade. Before the aliens could finish, Taeyang's team hit them with precise fire. Every shot found its target. "Humans are efficient," Krath noted with approval. "Small but deadly. We learned from the best," Taeyang replied. They reached the cargo hold level. 2 Krivek's guards stood at the main door. They saw the approaching Marines and reached for their communicators to call for help. They were too slow. Inside the cargo hold, Captain Yoon Hana heard gunfire. Close gunfire. The guards around them panicked. One of them received a message through his communicator. His face twisted with anger. "Supreme Collector Vroth orders the prisoners executed," the guard announced. "Kill them all." The guards raised their weapons toward the bound humans. Hana did not hesitate. "Dongwu now." Park Dongwu was already at the maintenance panel. His fingers had been working on it for the past 30 minutes. With one final push, he activated the emergency door release. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. The massive cargo doors began to open. Air rushed toward the growing gap, pulling everything loose toward space. The Krivek's guards lost their balance. Their shots went wide, hitting walls and ceiling instead of humans. Hana threw herself toward the nearest emergency suit locker, fighting against the wind. "Everyone get to the suits," she screamed. Kim Subin was already there. She pulled open the locker and started throwing suits to her crewmates. Choi Yoonji helped the wounded move faster. Dongwu grabbed 2 crew members who had fallen and dragged them towards safety. The cargo doors were halfway open now. Loose equipment flew into space. One Krivek's guard lost his grip and disappeared into the void with a scream that was cut short by silence. Hana pulled on her emergency suit with practiced speed. It was old and patched, but it would keep her alive. She helped Subin seal her helmet, then turned to check on the others. That was when the main door exploded inward. At first, Hana thought it was more Kriveks. Then she saw the Torvan warrior enter the cargo hold. He was enormous, easily twice her height. His scales were covered in armor that looked like it could stop missiles. Behind him came more aliens. And then, incredibly, she saw humans. Soldiers in coalition military gear. The remaining Krivek's guards tried to fight. They lasted less than 10 seconds. The Torvan warrior named Krath moved toward the humans, carefully avoiding the rushing air from the open doors. He reached the door controls and slammed them shut with one massive fist. The emergency seals engaged. The screaming wind stopped. Hana stood in the sudden silence, still holding her emergency suit. She stared at the massive alien standing before her. Krath looked down at the human captain. He saw the courage in her eyes. He saw that she had been ready to die fighting. He saw why his people had sworn to protect humanity. "Safe now," he said in broken human standard. "We protect." Hana felt tears forming in her eyes. She blinked them away. "Thank you. Thank you for coming." Sergeant Oh Tae-young approached her. "Captain Yoon Hana?" "I am Sergeant Oh Tae-young, Coalition Special Forces. We are here to take you home." "You are human," Hana said with surprise. "I did not know humans served in the Coalition military." Tae-young smiled. "A few of us do. Someone has to show these big guys how it is done." Krath made a sound that might have been a laugh. Outside the bright dawn, the battle had begun. Supreme Collector Wrath had refused to surrender. He had ordered his fleet to fight. It was a mistake he would not live to regret for long. Admiral Brath commanded the engagement from his flagship. The Coalition fleet surrounded the Kriviks from all sides. There was no escape. No mercy. The Tarvan dreadnoughts opened fire first. Their weapons were designed to crack asteroid bases and destroy space stations. Against Krivik's warships, they were devastating. 3 ships exploded in the first volley. The Valkyrie carriers released swarms of combat drones. Thousands of small ships filled the space around the Krivik's fleet, overwhelming their defense systems. The drones targeted engines and weapons, crippling ships without destroying them. The Coalition wanted prisoners to face justice. Wrath watched his fleet dying around him. He could not believe what was happening. Over 100 enemy ships against his 30. It was not a battle. It was an execution. "We must retreat," his second-in-command urged. "If we engage our faster-than-light drives now, some of us might escape." Wrath nodded. He turned his ship away from the battle and prepared to flee. He never got the chance. A Coalition warship appeared directly in his path. A human ship. Small compared to the others, but armed with Coalition weapons. Lee Ji-hwan watched from the bridge as the Endless Hunger tried to turn away. "Disable their engines," Ji-hwan ordered. "The Admiral wants him alive." The human ship fired. Precise shots hit the Krivik's command vessel's engine section. Power failed across the enemy ship. Roth's escape ended before it began. Back on the bright dawn, the crew was being loaded onto Coalition transport ships. Choi Yoon-ji made sure the wounded went first. Dong-woo walked on his own power but leaned heavily on Subin's shoulder. Hana was the last to leave. She stood at the airlock and looked back at her ship. The bright dawn was damaged and scarred, but it had survived. Just like her crew, Sergeant Tae-young waited beside her. "Captain, we need to go." Hana nodded but did not move immediately. "Sergeant, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Why?" "Why did over 100 ships come for 12 miners?" "We are nobody. We are not important." Tae-young was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke softly. "You called for help. You used the Coalition channel. That means you trusted us to answer. How could we not come?" Hana looked at him. There was something in his eyes. Pride. Belonging. The knowledge that he was part of something greater than himself. "Welcome to the family, Captain," Tae-young said. "Deathworlders protect their own." Hana stepped through the airlock. Behind her, the Coalition fleet finished its work. The Kriviks would never threaten anyone again.